This tutorial will show you how to do an argument diagram in Word or a word processing program, because that might actually turn out to be easier than doing it in the lab software or in iLogos, which are both a bit wonky, a little bit tricky to use. So, like when I was doing it in iLogos, I will copy the argument again, because I want to leave the original argument in place in case I need to refer to it later. Then I'm going to chop it apart at the sentence level. So just every period I'm just going to put it on a new line. Okay, then I want to look for premise or conclusion indicators. So we see there's a conclusion indicator, thus, and a premise indicator, since. So I know that I need to split up this sentence more into the conclusion and a premise. So what follows since is a premise, so after taxing our earnings is a conclusion. And I need to capitalize that. I want to make nice sentences. So this will be P2. Make that a period. And then the first sentence will be P1. Okay, now we're ready to start putting them into boxes. So I'm going to make a text box. And I'm going to copy my conclusion and paste it in. And then make another box. And copy P1. And another one for P2. Okay, then we want to ask ourselves how these premises support the conclusion. Do they support it? Does each premise support it on its own, or do they work together to support the conclusion? So, if we look at premise 1, say taxing our earnings is the same as the government forcing us to work without pay. Well, that seems kind of wrong, but it doesn't support it as strongly as if we add the premise 2, which explicitly says it is morally wrong to force someone to be a slave. However, we have a problem here. So here we have forcing someone to be a slave, and here we have forcing us to work without pay. And we view those two things as kind of the same thing, as basically the same thing. So one option could be to just changing this to forcing us to work as a slave or something like that, or forcing us to be a slave. But instead, I'm going to add an implied premise joining these two ideas, because I think that's really what's going on. We all understand that forcing us to work without pay is the same thing as being a slave. So we can easily add that premise in. Useful equivalent. That looks right. Something to that effect. It doesn't have to be that exact wording. Okay, so now we need to link these up. We don't have a nice linking tool in Word as we do in iLogos, but you can approximate it with straight arrows. Do not use double arrows or any kind of arrows to join premises that are meant to be linked, because that would say something different. And then we need an arrow joining it to the conclusion. And that'll be understood, since these are all linked together, this arrow just going from IP1 is really understood to be going from all of these three. So it'll be syntactically the same. That is perfectly acceptable. And so you can, move this box around if you like.